Automobile Accidents Under Age 21 by Derek Hills, Haral Sands, Jessica Chaco, Kaylina Napati, Orang Namai, Robert Herkong, and Rosanna O'Malley. U.S. teen drivers facts. Motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death for U.S. teens. In 2010, 7 teens ages 16 to 19 died every day from motor vehicle injuries. Per mile driven, teen drivers ages 16 to 19 are 3 times more likely than drivers aged 20 and older to be in a fatal crash. How big is the problem? In 2010, about 2,700 teens in the U.S. aged 16 to 19 were killed and almost 282,000 were treated and released from emergency departments for injuries suffered in motor vehicle crashes. Young people ages 15 to 24 represent only 14% of the U.S. population. However, they account for 30% or 19 billion of the total cost of motor vehicle injuries among males and 28%, 7 billion of the total cost of motor vehicle injuries among females. Who is most at risk? Males. In 2010, the motor vehicle death rate for male drivers and passengers ages 16 to 19 was almost 2 times that of their female counterparts. Teens driving with teen passengers. The presence of teen passengers increases the crash risk of unsupervised teen drivers. This risk increases with the number of teen passengers in the vehicle. Newly licensed teens. Crash risk is particularly high during the first months of licensure. This table shows the number of licensed drivers in correlation with the number in accidents by age in the year of 2009. The boxes highlighted in yellow show specifically the age groups of 21 years and younger. 19 years old and under, there were 10,326 licensed drivers, and 3,900 of that number were involved in fatal crashes. Under 16 years old, there were 658 licensed drivers, 200 of which were involved in fatal accidents. 16 years old, 1,311 licensed drivers, 500 were involved in fatal accidents. 17 years old, 2,145 licensed drivers, 700 were involved in fatal accidents. 18 years old, 2,854 licensed drivers, 1,200 fatal accidents. 19 years old, 358 licensed drivers, and of that number, 1,300 were involved in fatal accidents. 20 years old, 3,404 licensed drivers, 1,400 were involved in fatal accidents. 21 years old, 3,447 licensed drivers, and of that number, 1,400 were involved in fatal accidents. Automobile accidents for children under age 21 and not driving. Motor vehicle crashes are the leading cause of death for children of every age from 2 to 14 years old. Of the 1,210 traffic deaths among children ages 0 to 14 years in 2010, 211, or 17%, involved an alcohol-impaired driver.
Guam Statistics. From 2008 through 2012, Guam has averaged about 7,000 crashes, and the factors involved are mostly DUI, speeding, and distracted driving. If you tally crashes reported to local police, spanning from mere dents and dings to traffic fatalities, Guam racks up more than 6,000 crashes per year. It was only in 2010, with 5,618 crashes, that Guam's total dipped below 6,000 in about a decade. Although the under 21 fatal crash number is very low, reports do state that young adults are involved in a lot of minor fender benders due to distracted driving. Although the speed limit on Guam is lower than most states, a person is more than twice as likely to get into an auto accident on Guam than in the United States. The US has about 19 collisions per year for every 1,000, but there are about 40 collisions per year for every 1,000 on Guam. Despite the fact that Guam's collision rate is twice the national average, the reports show that the island is below average in fatal collisions. Since 2008, Guam has averaged about 15 traffic-related deaths per year. An average American town of the same size would be expected to record about 19.5 traffic-related deaths. In an average American town, about 30% of the fatal accidents would be the result of drunk driving. About 27% of Guam's fatal accidents were related to drunk driving between 2008 and 2012.
What factors put teen drivers at risk? Some include distracted driving. Younger, inexperienced drivers under the age of 20 may be at increased risk. They have the highest proportion of distraction-related fatal crashes. Speeding. Teens are more likely than older drivers to speed and allow shorter headways, the distance from the front of one vehicle to the front of the next. Alcohol and drugs. At all levels of blood alcohol concentration, the risk of involvement in a motor vehicle crash is greater for teens than for older drivers. In 2010, 22% of drivers aged 15 to 20 involved in fatal motor vehicle crashes were drinking. Inexperience. Teens are more likely than older drivers to underestimate dangerous situations or not be able to recognize hazardous situations. Time of day. In 2010, half of teen deaths from motor vehicle crashes occurred between 3 p.m. and midnight, and 55% occurred on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. Driving habits. Teenagers are more likely to speed, tailgate, and only 10% report wearing seatbelts. The factors of distracted driving and speeding will be discussed further in this presentation.
Distracted drivers. So what is distracted driving? It includes texting, talking to a passenger, eating, or even grooming, anything that takes off your attention from driving. There are three types of distraction that include cognitive, manual, and visual. Visual would mean that you take your eyes off the road. Manual would mean you would take your hands off the wheel. And cognitive is when your mind is not on the road. So driving under the influence is attributed to be the highest percentage of fatal car crashes on Guam and in the United States. Text messaging and followed by handheld phone use. Guam compared to the three states of Rhode Island, Idaho, and Washington, text messaging attributes for about 44% of fatal car crashes, 17% for handheld phone use, and about 5% for other, which is grooming, eating, and talking to passengers.
U.S. speeding statistics. These statistics are taken from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. This is a U.S. nonprofit organization funded by auto insurers. These statistics were verified on March 22, 2012. Men versus women statistics in speeding show a ratio of male to female 1.75 to 1, which means male drivers prefer to drive faster than female drivers. As for men versus women in fatal car crash, statistics show that males aged 16 through 19 have a rate of 9.2 as compared to females with a rate of 5.3. Rate is for number of fatal crashes per 100 million miles traveled. This further demonstrates that drivers aged 16 through 19 are more likely to speed as compared to older age groups. Guam statistics could not be found, but after reading the many local news about speeding accidents, they mostly link back to driving under the influence. Young drivers. Young drivers generally choose to drive faster than elderly drivers. Males prefer to drive faster than females, and young drivers are more likely to engage in risky speeding behaviors.
Automobile accidents under the age of 21 in reference to the factors of alcohol and drugs, comparing the United States and Guam. In an average American town, about 30% of the fatal accidents will be the result of drunk driving. About 27% of Guam's fatal accidents were related to drunk driving between 2008 and 2012. In 2008 through 2012, Guam averaged 7,000 crashes, mostly DUI, followed by speeding and distracted driving.
Solutions for auto accidents under 21. Graduated driver's license. Driving education. Highway design and engineering. Safety cameras. And enforcement. Graduated driver's license. Novice drivers have higher crash rates. Graduated driver licensing programs allow young drivers to safely gain driving experience before obtaining full driving privileges. Most programs include three stages. 1. Learner stage, supervised driving, cumulating with a driving test. 2. Intermediate stage, limiting unsupervised driving in high-risk situations. 3. Full privilege stage, a standard driver's license. Driving education. Education is vital in trying to change the attitudes towards speeding. It is essential that the dangers caused by driving at inappropriate speeds are clearly explained and demonstrated to work towards a general acceptance and ownership of the problem of illegal and inappropriate speed. Highway design and engineering. It is important that road design gives drivers the right messages about the maximum safe speed. Safer roads benefit all road users, but especially those who are most vulnerable: pedestrians, cyclists, motorcyclists, children, and the elderly. Safety cameras. Safety cameras are a very effective way of persuading drivers not to speed and thereby reducing the number of people killed and seriously injured. Cameras are a great way to deter speeding on young adults due to the fact that it captures images of every traffic violation and the vehicles involved. Enforcement. Roads policing is a fundamental and irreplaceable activity, which plays a key role in saving lives and minimizing injury on the road. In order to do this effectively, roads policing must be given its rightful priority by the government and the police department and be adequately resourced. Police have many priorities, including tackling many forms of violent crime, all of which are extremely important. They must, therefore, allocate and prioritize their limited resources to the best possible effect. The level of death and injury caused by poor and often illegal behavior on the road far exceeds the number of people killed through any other form of crime. Accordingly, roads policing must be one of the top priorities.